Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Walaikum salam. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't quite sure whether we were going to start now or at 9, but I'm glad that some of you are here already. Do you know if everybody else is coming? How's everyone doing?
I assume so.
How is everyone doing?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, good. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. How was your viewing of the platform? Did you manage to have a look there, and how did that go for you? We've got.
I think we're all a bit confused.
Sorry?
I'm definitely
we're all a little bit confused. You're confused for that?
Sorry, I can't actually hear. What was that? What was that, sorry?
Hold on. Maybe I can take my headphones. I was saying, I think we're all a bit confused where to find things and where to do things, and chopping between the old course from last year and the new one, because it seems like there's not a lot of content in the new space.
Okay, so it's basically the new course is basically a copy of the course before. So it's not really different. The only difference is the I've put the recording. Sorry, I've got somebody else who wants to. She keeps pushing her head in to come join on the Zoom, and then I'm like pushing her out. So it's a cat, in case you're wondering who I'm pushing away. Oh. She's just like, I got you. She's seen me at my desk and she's like, I've got you. Give me attention. Okay, so the course is basically a copy of the previous one. So there's not really any difference, except for I made a new cohort so that we can kind of go along it according to the pace that works for your group. The only thing that's different is that we have the recording is the one that instead of having the live recordings from the previous group, we have the one that was for this group. That's really the only difference. And then the second thing is that if you've participated in our discussions in the Zoom, then you don't need to do the work on the discussion forum, because that discussion forum is instead of the discussions that we have here. Yeah, so last week we had like a activity, right, where you discussed about the what's the purpose of Islamic education, right? So we did that last week, so that was counted as basically your discussion forum post. Yeah, and then do you want me to share my screen to show you? Is it easier?
Yeah, maybe might be good.
Okay, you can see this now, right? And then yeah, so then I've got like things starred, and those are the ones that you really have to watch, so that the flow is there. So if you don't watch all of these activities that are down here and you just pick a few of them, that's fine. Yeah, and if you click on the assignment part, it tells you what you need to do for the week. So you need to watch all the videos that have a star, and then you need to post a reply, but because we're doing a live, you don't need to do that. And then you need to upload a video of you presenting a 3-period lesson, and the instructions are there under assignments, and then the reading of the Montessori way. So it is designed as an intensive course, and I don't know what your capability is at the moment for each of you. If you feel it's too heavy to do that in 1 week, then we can definitely do it over 2 weeks. It's just that it's going to take us longer to get through it. Yeah, and I'm fine with either way. Maybe it's something that you can talk to. Is it Nicole I was in contact with? Yeah, maybe it's something you can talk with her, because the thing is, in the end, for me, it's about this course being useful for you and for the work that you're doing in Ummah Jameelah, and being helping you guys as practitioners who work with children in early years, helping you get the most out of this and out of the time that we do in the lives, right? So although my
Mhm.
course has its own schedule, I have other groups that do it over a whole year. I have groups that do it faster, you know, like they literally take it like over 2 weeks and we just go through the whole course. So it's really about what works for you as a team. And I know that you're in a unique situation because it's not like you're running a preschool that's every single day. It's sessional and, you know, so maybe that would be something that you guys can discuss in a meeting together with Nicole. And just come up and just let me know. Is the amount required doable for you in 1 week, or do you prefer to have 2 weeks for it? And then we can actually make a schedule. But naturally, if we're doing it over 2 weeks, then the lives will be every other week as well. And as long as you guys can follow through and keep the momentum up, that's totally fine for me. I mean, I'm more than happy for that. I just want this to be beneficial for all of you as a group. And again, with the lives as well, like there's a few people who are not here. So if we start the lecture now and then they jump in a bit later, they're missing parts out, do you see? So it's, you know, I would rather, I can be flexible because it's in the evening for me here. So I can be flexible. I've already kind of put Thursday evening aside for you guys. So if it's better to do it at 9, by all means, I can do it at 9. You know, if it's better to do it at 9:30, I can probably even manage 9:30 as well. But I think it's important that you just, because the momentum is going to be kept by your regular attendance and by being able to keep up with the assignment. So for example, the 3-period lesson, when I come to refer to it in the live, if you've all been working on that, then it will make sense, right? But if you haven't viewed that yet, or the introduction to Montessori or so, and then it's, some of the lives are not really going to be as useful. So I think that maybe you guys can have a meeting about that and discuss how the flow would work best for all of you, and then just let me know, and then I'll try my best from my end to do whatever I can to support that to happen. Yeah.
Sure, we can do that. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll probably do that tomorrow, and then we can get back to you before next week and let you know. But I think we ideally would like to be finished by the end of our school year, so end of November.
Okay.
Because then we're all on holidays, and
Yeah,
it's just
naturally.
particularly for those that, you know, like we don't, like I personally don't have any young children. So if I'm not at work, I don't have anybody to do the practical side on. So if it drags out over summer, you know, I think it's just going to lose that momentum that you were talking about.
Yeah. The thing
So
is,
I think,
well,
you
like
know, we should probably.
yeah, if you're stuck for some of the observations, you just let me know, because what I can also do is I can also give you videos that you can do it from instead of a live.
Okay.
But of course, doing it with a live child is much better, much better.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe if
Yeah.
you take, like, if you think about, if you're saying by November you want to get this done by November, then maybe if you just look at that period from now until November and think about how you want to spread the 15 weeks out. Maybe you know, maybe there'll be times that you can do it quicker and times that you could do it slower. And naturally around Eid time, so we have like a holiday on Eid, and then we also have I'm launching a diploma course in end of August, so I'll be a bit busy around end of August. So there might be like a couple of lives we might not do, because it's supposed to be 10 lives and 15 weeks of content. So maybe just kind of have a look, keep in mind the holiday period, the Eid holiday period, and then if there's any other holidays, I'll let you know, and maybe just try and put together what will work for you as a team. Something that you can all connect to. You can all have your cameras on, you can all be available and engage, so that we can get the most out of this, and so that it has a positive impact on your actual practice and your work with children and supporting families. Yeah.
Inshallah. No, that sounds fine, because the Eid for us falls during the school holidays. So I think if we skipped like the Thursday that it's going to land right at Eid time, and then the following Thursday, because lots of us are off doing holiday things, and then we could run through until August, when you're busy, and maybe then take another break from the live. And then I think we have school holidays again. I think it's the 3rd week of September or something like that. But let me get some dates together and I'll message you and just let you know what like our when our holidays are, and then you can come back to me and let me know, okay, this is when I'm busy, and we'll just swap the 15 weeks and the 10 weeks around the start, the end, minus when either of us is busy.
Okay, I think that will be the best thing. And then just keep in mind that for assignments, when you do come on here, I will star everything that you do have to watch so that you can be really focused with your time. Okay, you can watch everything else as well, but I'll star the things that you have to watch, and then click on the assignments, and basically you'll see there what you have to do. And if there's a 3-period lesson assignment, it will be listed under the assignments. So you can basically just, you know, once you finish watching, you can have a look here, and so it's really clear. If you need any more information, just ask me. And also the Zoom will be right at the bottom. So I'll just keep adding the Zoom content at the bottom so that you can, if you want to go back and watch the recording of what we did previously, it's there. Yeah. So shall we go on and shall we go on and continue with the talk that we had last week? Shall we, or?
Yes, I think so. No, I think we should.
Okay.
Because I think it's only Hannah that's not here. Is that right?
Yeah, it looks like it's just Hannah. If you give me 1 second.
Kawthar, Assalamu alaikum. Kawthar's not here either.
Ah, okay. Oh, somebody's joined.
Oh, Hannah just joined.
Hannah. So yeah, just no Kawthar. So
Was saying
I think we
today.
should start.
You give me,
Kawthar is no longer doing the course.
she doesn't want to join the lives.
She's no longer doing.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay, so hold on, it's just my PowerPoint is loading. Okay. Slideshow. Did anyone have any questions from what came up, what we spoke about previously, or what you've seen in the live so far, on the platform so far? No? Okay, wonderful. So I think the last thing we did was this, right? We spoke about what is the aim of education. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, so and you guys came up with some like really wonderful ideas and concepts, and I think that you know, it's clear that we all understand that there's a greater aim to education. It's not just about the materialistic learning that the children will do, the reading, the writing, you know, those things are of course important, but they're not the main focus that we as Muslims should have for education, right? So one of the things that you know we spoke about is the fact that you know, developing the human being so that they can fulfill their purpose of life. So it's important for us as educators to really get a good understanding of what is the purpose of human life. What is the purpose of human life? So we know as Muslims, of course, that we are created to worship Allah. And one of the interesting things about Dr. Montessori is that she saw that education is directly linked to the human being being able to fulfill the purpose of their life. And she talks about man's duty is to find his place and purpose in this cosmic plan. And I'll be using the word cosmic or cosmos often as we're talking. And for those of you who are not familiar with that word, it's basically the whole of the universe, the whole cosmos, and all of its interrelationships and the way it's designed and everything to do with that, right? So Dr. Montessori talks so much about the universe and about the cosmos, and she talks about man's role within the cosmos. And of course, since she wasn't a Muslim, she didn't have that further step of really you know, man's purpose to worship Allah and submission to Allah and all of that. She didn't really have that, but there was an element of God in her calculations that she had. But either way, her emphasis is that man's duty is to find his place and purpose in the cosmos, right? Whatever she believed it to be, that doesn't really matter, because for us, we know clearly what that is. We're not having that guesswork. And that's really the perspective that Dr. Montessori had. So because she had that perspective, you can see straight away that it fits with our viewpoint of what education should be as Muslims, because we believe that education is linked to the human being being able to fulfill their purpose in worshipping Allah. But let's actually look at, in the Quran and the Hadith, let's actually look at what is the you know, what are we told about the purpose of mankind's creation? So the obvious one that we all know is that it's to worship Allah, right? And in order to worship Allah, it's not just that you learn how to pray and you learn how to fast and you learn how to do your 5 pillars of Islam, but it's also that you have to know your creator. You have to know your creator so that you can fall in love with him, right? So that you can have you can affirm your belief in him. You can have that connection to him, and then the expression of your love to him and the expression of your belief in him is that you pray or you fast or you do the 5 pillars of Islam, right? So that means that part of it is also about knowing the creator. So part of this aspect of to worship Allah is that the human being has to also know their creator. And that's where this, you know, cosmic plan that we're going to keep talking about comes into role, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this universe. He tells us numerous times in the Quran, he tells us that he created the universe full of signs. And those signs are to turn us to him. Those signs are to connect us to him. If you remember the story of Prophet Ibrahim, when he was in search for his creator, right? He turned to the sun, and then he said, is this my Lord? And then he said, no, it's not my Lord. He turned to the stars, he turned to the moon, right? It's as he observed the nature of the universe that he's surrounded in, it turned him to the creator. Because the way that Allah designed the universe and the way that he created the universe, every single thing is pointing to him and directing us to him, and in a way forcing us to look beyond the material to see him as the creator and the sustainer and the one that has the power, that has put everything into place. So to do that purpose of worshiping Allah, we have to also understand the universe that he created, because that universe is to take us to him. And Allah tells us in the Quran, he says, you know, did you not see? Did you not read the signs? We've put signs all over the universe for you. Did you not see them? Did you not read them? How can you deny the signs of Allah's creation? You know, that's being told to us time and time again in the Quran. So this aspect of worship Allah has to come along with seeking knowledge about Allah, so that you can fall in love with him. And then in order to seek that knowledge about Allah comes this aspect of studying the cosmos and studying the universe. Okay, and if you think about that for a minute, what subjects would come up in studying the cosmos? What topics would come up? What could you think off the top of your head that would be to do with studying the universe? Things like what? Like science, like biology, physics, things like that, astronomy, history, or any kind of discipline that is a stream of knowledge about studying the universe. All of those disciplines, actually, when you study them in the perspective of getting to know your creator, each one of those lessons should be reaffirming your Tawheed in Allah. Okay, so that's one of the first purposes that we all know very, very well. And then another one that the Prophet Muhammad SAW he said to us that the earth is green and beautiful, and Allah has appointed you as his stewards over it. So another purpose of mankind on the earth is to be a caretaker of the earth. Okay, Allah tells us that he's the one who made us dominant over the plant and animal kingdom. So actually, if you look at the human being, we're not as fierce and as strong as some of the animals in the animal kingdom, right? You know, if we were put against the tiger or against the lion, we're pretty sure not going to survive that. Okay, so we're not the strongest, okay? And we're not the most resilient, you know? For example, you know, you have trees that have lived for hundreds and hundreds of years. You know, you have animals that can go through hibernation and live in very difficult circumstances. So we're not created as the most powerful or the most capable. There are other creations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed with more strength or more adaptation, but yet he chose us. So us being at the top of the cosmic hierarchy, it's not because we're so great or we're so amazing or we're so clever or we're so capable, but it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from his wisdom, he chose for us to be at the top of the cosmic hierarchy. And that comes with the responsibility of being caretakers. So he made the animals submit to us, he made the plants submit to us, but then in return, we have a duty to take care of them, to cultivate them, to propagate them. Right? And if you read in the seerah of Ibn Kathir, when he talks about Prophet Adam, one of the things that Prophet Adam did when he came to the earth is Angel Jibreel taught him how to propagate the animals and propagate the plants and do farming and things like that. That was one of the things that Prophet Adam was taught. And if you look at the history of Islamic history, so many of the prophets were shepherds, right? And looked after lands and things like that. So being a caretaker is also part of our purpose. So when we deliver education to children, when we provide education, it has to be in a way that cultivates the human being to grow into somebody who is going to take care of the animal kingdom, who's going to take care of the plant kingdom, who values them, who sees the interconnectedness between us and them, and recognizes that we have a role in that as well. We have a role to play for that. And also that, of course, includes even the inanimate aspects of our cosmos. So that's one of our purposes. And then another one is to be observers of nature. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, and we have placed within the heaven great stars and have beautified it for the observers. And this word observers is repeated in the Quran numerous times, of the human beings being observers. Okay, there is a hadith Qudsi, and it comes from some people accept it as a okay source, some people don't, but I think it's really beautiful, so I just want to mention it. But there is a hadith Qudsi where when Allah is talking about why he created, he said, I was a hidden treasure and I wanted to be known, or I wanted to be seen. Okay, so I created. Okay, and that's a beautiful saying, and that really fits in nicely with this observers of nature, right? So part of us being here as human beings is also not just to look after the universe, but to really connect to the universe and observe the universe, because that goes back to the fact that through observing the universe, you reinforce Tawheed. And when you reinforce Tawheed, you know your Lord better, you can connect to your Lord better, and then you can prostrate to him and pray to him and fulfill your duties towards him with a greater level of Tawheed. So this observer part comes in. So part of education has to also be to build the human being who is a keen observer of their environment, who is a keen observer of Allah's creation. And it's really interesting because if you look at like scholars in Islam in the past, many of them studied science. You know, if you look at the Islamic golden era and you look at one of those photos, I think I had one here. Or, no, I think it's on another slide. You will see that within their masjids or within their madrasas, they used to study geography, they used to study astronomy, they used to study science, right? Because for them, it was all fascinating because this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe, right? So this is also a purpose. And then the last one is that as inheritors of knowledge. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that the righteous servants shall be the inheritance of knowledge. And we also have the hadith, many hadiths that tells us that the knowledge is the lost property of the believers, right? And travel, you know, search for knowledge, even if it's you travel to China, right? So knowledge about the universe, knowledge about Allah's creation, knowledge about life, true knowledge, knowledge about Tawheed, knowledge about reality, all of that knowledge is the lost property of believers, right? It's our inheritance. And there was a period in the history of mankind where the Muslims were at the forefront of, you know, discoveries and sharing knowledge. And the Muslims were the ones who translated the books of the Greeks and the books of the ancient Chinese and the ancient Indians, and they gathered all of that. If you look at our number system, the number system that we use now, you know, not the Arabic one, but the one that we all commonly use. If you look at that, how did that come to be this global number system that everybody used? Do any of you know the story of that? No? The Muslims came across the number system when they were trading with the Indians, and they came across it, and it wasn't used by the Indians, but it was in some of their manuscripts, but it wasn't commonly used. So the Muslim traders, the Muslims, they came across it, one of the scholars, and he thought that it was really simple and easy to use for many people. Then they added a 0 onto it, and they began to use that in trade and began to use it in communications. So the Muslims began to put that into place, and they actually introduced it to Europe. And at that time, Europe was using the Roman numerals, which are much more complicated to do calculations with and recording with and everything. So the Europeans were using their Roman symbols. And when they were introduced to the numbers that we have now, they didn't want to take it because they didn't want to take something from the Arabs. So the rest of the world started using this number system, and it was only a little bit later that Europe adopted it. Although we call them English numbers, they're not really English numbers, right? That's why I didn't want to say the English numbers. I want to say the ones that we all use now. Because actually, the Muslims were in the forefront of studying knowledge that was in ancient India, taking that knowledge, seeing which parts of it benefit us as a humanity moving forward, and then spreading it around. So there was a period that the Muslims were at the forefront. And there are many, many aspects of our life that are directly influenced now by discoveries that Muslim scholars made in the golden era and, you know, before or after that. Although it's not spoken about often. But you can see that this aspect of inheritance of knowledge is not just directly linked to Islamic knowledge, but it also includes other aspects of knowledge that are beneficial for humanity. So those are the 4 purposes. I'll just go back to the four purposes of the creation of mankind. Of course, there may be a few others, but these are the main ones that we want to focus on when we're looking at education. So we really need to ask ourselves, does our education system that we provide for children, is it building human beings who can fulfill all of these purposes? You know, is it? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Does someone want to unmute themselves and tell me what you think? Do you think it's fulfilling all of this?
The current education system, no.
Definitely not.
What do you think is lacking?
I would say connection with nature, just observing, being in that connection first. That's first.
Definitely.
One's learning at one's own pace and not being left behind because they're not at at the level that they're supposed to be at as an average to, peers.
Okay. And what else? Which other, like, how else do you think? Do you think that the inheritors of knowledge is something that we are, a human being, that we are educating our children to be inheritors of knowledge, true knowledge, beneficial knowledge? No, where it's like often the school system often kills the child's inquisitiveness. If you look at the young child, who hasn't gone to preschool, hasn't gone to school, often they have such a curiosity about everything, right? And a fascination with anything. And then often when they go to preschool, it starts to kind of curb down a little bit. And then when they enter school, it kind of curbs down totally. And you've got so many children who are in high school or in university, and they're not interested in learning about anything because that curiosity is gone. So we're definitely not, that's something lacking. We're not creating we're not supporting the human being to develop into somebody who's an inheritor of knowledge, who's eagerly seeking knowledge, right? And then observers of nature, as you said, and the caretakers of the earth, they come together, and then also the education system, the normal education system that we see, is it really developing people who understand their universe so that they fall in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or is it teaching children how to pray and how to fast and the 5 pillars and the 6 pillars of Iman, but then actually the actual spiritual connection that they have to their creator is not being cultivated much? Because that's often what we see, what I've seen in so many schools, is we might teach the 5 pillars of Islam, 6 pillars of belief, but then we haven't really cultivated that aspect of the child falling in love with their creator. Okay, so we have to bear those in mind. So when you look at Islamic education, so the way that I like to see things, okay, is we use Montessori education as a tool. We said this earlier. We use it as a tool because Maria Montessori was a scientist. She was a doctor. She spent countless hours observing children, studying children, examining children, bringing in different materials, putting them in front of a child, watching how they react, taking it away, putting something else in, taking it away, painting it another color, putting it in. She spent countless of hours doing this experiment to find how children learn best, how children develop best, how children can reach their full potential. Because the Prophet told us that knowledge is the lost property of believers. When we take her knowledge, it's our lost property anyway. We can take her knowledge and we can use it as a tool to help us implement education that is holistic for the human being and that will support all faculties of the child's development. But it's not enough just to know about Montessori education. We also have to know about Islamic education. What is it that we have in our belief system, in our hadith, in our Quran? What is it that we have about education that can guide us on how we should be as educators, right? So we use Montessori as a tool because she's done all this great work. And I certainly don't want to repeat that work that she did. We want to take her work and build on it further, okay? But we have to also understand what's within our heritage as Muslims, because that is going to give us so much more depth and connection to actually being able to support the child in their development. So if you look at education in Islam, usually there are 3 terms that are used to explain education in Islam. And those are ta'lim, tarbiyah, and ta'deeb. And my Arabic is terrible, okay? I'm not a linguistic. My son is an absolute linguistic. He's studying a degree in English language. He knows several languages. He's gifted in language. Somehow his mum is totally not a linguistic person, and I only know one language. And I've been in Malaysia for 7 years and I don't even speak Malay. So you have to excuse my Arabic if I pronounce anything wrong. And I think we have a few here who can speak Arabic, so you can just go right ahead and share the Arabic so that I don't have to embarrass myself. But there's these 3 terms, Talim, Tarbiyah, and Ta'dib. And they come from root words. Okay. Oh, sorry, I just moved you so I can see the screen better. Okay. So Talim comes from the root word. Is it Fida who teaches Arabic? Is it? Who is it who teaches Arabic? Which one of you teaches Arabic?
I speak Arabic.
Okay, well,
But
yeah.
Arabic.
Maybe you can just say the root word for me under Talim properly, since I can't say it. Or I think I've got it on another slide. No.
Alima.
Alima, okay. So what does that mean? It means to know, to be aware, to perceive, or to learn knowledge. It's knowledge being imparted through instruction and teaching. Or it could be the process of transmitting or imparting knowledge. Okay. What does that sound like? That sounds very much like, you know, lessons that we might give where we're sharing knowledge with the children, and, you know, we're giving some instruction and gaining knowledge from that, right? So that's one part, but it's only one part of Islamic education. How about the other 2 parts? So we have tarbiyah, which comes from the word rabba, and then we have ta'dib, which comes from the word adaba. Oh, I don't know how you say that word, so, you know. So Talim is very much what we're seeing happening around us in most schools, in most education systems, right? We're seeing this going on and on, where you're teaching and the child is being instructed and the child is getting knowledge that's imparted on them. So that one we don't really need to talk about much, except for we will talk about how do you do that? How do you impart knowledge? That's one thing that we'll talk about later. But I think we're quite familiar with that. But how about tarbiyah? Because this is a part of Islamic education and it's equally weighted. This is not a side part, it's equally weighted. So what's really interesting for me is that the word tarbiyah comes from the word rabba, right? I hope I said that right. And what we all know that one of the 99 names of Allah is what? Rabb, right? The nurturer, right? So this aspect of tarbiyah goes back to this very nurturing nature. If you think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's put you in this universe as Rabb al-Alameen, put you in this universe, and he's constantly nurturing your development as a human being so that you can fulfill your purpose. Every experience that you have in this dunya, whether it's a educational experience or a social experience or a marital experience or a parenting experience, whatever it may be, every single experience that you are having in this dunya is Allah nurturing you to help you to become a better person, to help you to get closer to him, to help you to fulfill your purpose of life before your life comes to an end. Right? I think we can all agree that this is constantly happening. Allah's constantly nurturing us. And sometimes he's nurturing us through giving us lessons, putting us in contact with people with knowledge, and then they share knowledge with us. Sometimes it's through giving us trials. Sometimes it's through giving us success. He nurtures us in many different ways. And for each one of us, what Allah gives us is different from the other. So as Allah being the one that gives us tarbiyah, he's given each and every one of us what we need so that we can become the best version of ourselves. So think of the educator in that way. The educator as the nurturer. The one who has that nurturing care for the child to provide for them what they need according to their stage that they're in according to their character, according to their potential, to help them to slowly develop into the best person that they can be. Tarbiyah is part of Islamic education. This is not a new concept. We have a quotation here from Ar-Raghib who says, Tarbiyah is to cause something to develop from stage to stage until reaching its completion or its full potential. And it really comes with that very nurturing aspect, you know, that very nurturing. And if you think of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu his character was one of nurturing, correct? His character was one of nurturing. His character was one of supporting. So this is part of Islamic education, tarbiyah. So not just instructing, but nurturing. And then we have ta'deeb. Ta'deeb, sorry, give me 1 second. Let me put my light on because I can see that. Is that better? It's just about to turn to Maghrib here. Okay, so another one is ta'deeb. Okay, and that comes from the word adaba, which is about being cultured or refined, well-mannered, disciplined. It's training the mind and the soul. Okay, these three, let me go back. These three, talim, tarbiyah, ta'deeb, if you look at them, they encompass all aspects of the human being, right? You've got the formal knowledge or the formal acquisition of knowledge that you need to know. Then you also have the cultured part about how you are going to be with each other, how you should behave, how you should interact. And then you've also got the tarbiyah part. So you've got all these aspects of the human being. So straight away, we can see that Islamic education is holistic. It's not just looking at intellectual knowledge, as we see in many education systems, but it's a combination of all. The holistic method, the holistic education where all aspects of the human being are being cultivated and nurtured and developed. Okay, and these three, Talim, Tarbiyah, Ta'deeb, they are linked to Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. Okay, so they're linked to those three. But we're not going to go into that too much, but it just gives you an idea that these are aspects of Islamic education. So this is the model we should be following. Yeah. And then one of the things that we as Muslims believe is we believe that all knowledge comes from Allah, correct? All knowledge comes from Allah, and all knowledge takes us back to Allah. And that Allah has designed the human being in such a way that we have an innate sense of knowledge. Okay, Imam Ghazali says that knowledge exists potentially in the human soul, like a seed in the soil, and by learning or experiencing, that potential comes out. So the most important knowledge that we can have is what? What's the most important knowledge we can have? For any human being to have, what's the most important knowledge to have? One thing. What's the first and most important knowledge that we should have?
Oh, is it our
Allah.
purpose and our existence and why we're here?
No, way before that. The most important knowledge. So when you die, what's the first question you're going to get asked?
Allah.
Yeah.
No,
Oneness of Allah.
But yeah, who is your creator? Man Rabbuka. Okay, that's the first question we're going to get asked. So that's the most important knowledge, the first and most important knowledge that we have to have. And some people are born with that. Some people are converts, like we have converts here, and some people are born into it, but they don't know it, and then they have to learn it. They have to connect to that later in their life, right? So that's the first knowledge. So we're saying knowledge is innate within the human being because it's fitra. So we know that in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that before we came to this earth, He created all the souls of the human beings and He brought them together and He stood us all in front of Him, whether we remember or not. He stood us all in front of Him And he asked us if we witness. And he said, Bala shahid. We said, Bala shahidna. We witness and testified that he is our creator. And that's I always get this word wrong. The primordial, I can't remember the word now. Primordial, Hannah, if you remember the word, because we spoke about this other one. We all had that experience.
Covenant? Covenant might be.
Yeah, I think it's the
Primordial covenant.
Yeah. So we all had that. We all had that experience. Is there anyone here because they didn't have that? We all had it. We don't remember it, but we did have it. So that means that when we entered this world, our soul had that knowledge. So the most important knowledge of life, we already had that in our soul before we came to our material life. And that's part of this innate knowledge. It's there within us. Allah's gifted human being with innate knowledge. But for the knowledge to sprout out of us, to blossom out of us, that's where we have to have experiences. And that's where we have to have learning. Okay? So we have to, when we look at the child, we can't think that the child doesn't know anything. When you look at a newborn baby, you can't think they don't know anything because they're closer to that experience than we are. They're closer to that experience than we are. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, there's many times where he tells us, remind, for verily reminders benefit the believers. And that remind is, yes, reminding about Allah and reminding about our purpose of life and everything, but it's also about reminding us about what we already know, what our instinct and fitra is already telling us. Okay? Human beings who are in touch with their fitra, they reach their full potential because the fitra already knows and is already guiding us, right? Whereas human beings that come off track of their fitra or disconnect from their fitra, they can go so far, and then, at some point of their life, usually people will think, hang on a minute, what am I doing? Because that fitra is there. So part of education is also coming back to the fitra, reminding us to come back to that true nature of the human being. And so all of this that we've just said is so beautifully in line with what Dr. Montessori has said and what she talks about. And Dr. Montessori talks about education. She says that, sorry, the adhan is, I live in a madrasa, in case you don't know. We have 80 teenagers that live here. And it's really beautiful because sometimes the little ones will recite the adhan. So it's really cute. So can you still hear me or should I stop for a minute?
We can hear you.
We can still hear you.
Okay. So Dr. Montessori, for her, education is influencing the whole life of the child. It's a total development of the personality, a harmonious growth of all the potentialities of the child, the physical and the mental, according to the laws of its being. And I love that last part, according to the laws of its being, because it's not developing all the potentialities according to what we think, according to what Dr. Montessori thought, or according to what some educational psychologists thought. It's according to the laws that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in the child, the laws for his development. This is one of the reasons why Montessori education can fit so nicely with Islamic education, because it's not really about Montessori's theory or ideas, but it's about her observing the nature, observing the fitra, observing the laws that Allah put in place for the child. So that's what education is, according to Dr. Montessori. She also says, education is the help we must give to life so that it may develop in the greatness of its powers, to help those great forces which bring the child, inert at birth, to the greatness of the adult being. This should be the plan of education, to see what help we can give. So here she's not saying to teach the child or to instruct the child, but she's saying to help the child. So one of the terms that we use in Montessori is facilitators. We are facilitators for the child's development. And it's beautiful that you guys use that word as well, facilitators. And, you know, for us in the Montessori term, it really means that we are facilitating the development that's going on. We are helping the development that's taking place. Not that we are the ones that are leading the child, but we are following the child and supporting them as they go on this journey of developing themselves into a fully functioning human being. So that brings us to our next activity, which is, sorry, I have to move this because I can't see, because, hold on. Okay. So now we've looked at education from an Islamic point of view. We looked at education from Dr. Montessori's point of view. So the next activity is to define what then is Islamic Montessori education. How does it all fit together? So
It's a whole approach. So you know, like you've got the teaching them, you've got the I don't know how to say it, looking at their soul, like and also just modeling, like, you know, the principles of working with others around them, their environment, and yeah, and how we interact.
okay,
In
yeah, beautiful. All right, what I want you to do is in as a group together, can you actually write a definition, an Ummah Jameelah definition of what Islamic Montessori education is. So if anybody asks you, a parent asks you, or another teacher asks you, well, you know, what is Montessori from the Muslim perspective? What is it? You've got an answer. Yeah. So I'll give you some time. How long do you think you need? 10 minutes? Is it okay? Yeah. I'll give you 10 minutes. Can you talk amongst yourself and write a definition? And I'll come back and then you can share it then. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, great. So I'm going to switch off my camera and I'm going to
So are we gonna chat, or does someone want to write something in the chat?
Assalamu alaikum. So I
Alaikum
started writing a little bit. I wrote that Islamic Montessori education is about being conscious of Allah in all aspects, in the way we treat the children, the way we teach the children, and that's all I've written.
That's pretty good.
I think also when she mentioned about the whole cosmos thing in the start, I think I would say it's Montessori from an Islamic point of view is also bringing the whole purpose of our creation, and like, you know, how we can put like you know, emerge with science as well. You know, I don't know, some like we can put the whole thing together, what she just talked about, and define the thing of Islamic Montessori. I don't know.
So what did we have? We had God consciousness, like that's taqwa, and then I would say if we were to define, let's try
And as well with
definition, like a clear definition of who wants to have a go. My brain's not working.
Oh, did I like that?
Mm.
I did it.
I'm
Oh,
not
yeah, we
sure if
like
it,
that one.
can we add into it?
It's so hard to define it. Like it's all about taqwa, actually, like God consciousness, but also helping the child. What you Fida said, like connecting the teaching with the spiritual side of it. I'm lacking the words as well to describe. Someone else wants to contribute.
And maybe, being in tune with that fitra. Oh,
Yeah.
my phone got off. Oh, sorry. I have to go find a charger, girls. I'll be back.
I think also like we should add that, you know, it's about loving Allah and knowing him, so that once we understand that, we can then love to learn about everything else. So I think the fundamental of that has been lost through the school education, because everything's just pushed on, you have to learn this, you have to learn that. Where if you love Allah and you understand why He's created you, then inshallah, in turn, it will mean that you'll end up loving to learn. So then, yeah, the learning will be different to mainstream teaching.
So how do we add Montessori to that? So apart from the consciousness and loving Allah and, like Jean said, in tune with their fitra.
Yeah, because Montessori teaches that you need to be in tune with what your purpose is and
Purpose.
who your creator is, and yeah, once you've got that down packed, then everything else, you'll be seeing everything else in a different light.
Can I just add to that as well, that as facilitators, we also have to have that taqwa, like when we teach the children, and we have to see that it is a huge manner to have these children in our care, and that we are treating them right, and that we are teaching them correctly in all aspects, whether it's about Allah, whether it's about religion, or just general everyday things.
The child is absorbing in the sensitive period, especially from 0 to 6. So it's important that we have it as like an educator or even just a mother.
We could also add like observing everything around us, like when it's night time, Allah gave us the night to sleep, and then the next day is to wake up and to be productive. So through observation.
Sure.
Still don't have a definition, but we have
Also, so we have to come up with a definition. Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's pretty much sums up everything that was being said.
But how could we write that in a
Yes.
short sentence?
So just like the definition of Islamic education would be, what would it be? So defining Islamic Montessori, just be combining, I guess.
Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Yeah. Or do you need a bit more time? Have you got a
I think-
definition?
So we're basically saying all the same things, kind of how it's supporting and helping the child, and also like having that God consciousness, and what else do we mention? Like loving Allah, and that they're in tune with their fitra. So kind of I see it as a supporting and helping the child, but we had a problem defining it, but we had a lot of good keywords.
So do you have like a statement?
Not really.
Oh yeah.
We've written something down in the chat. We can just.
Oh, I didn't see the chat.
Yeah. It's good if you can come up maybe with like one statement that you do use, that you all agree on. So it's really clear that that's what you are, that's kind of like, and it could even be more like in line with your, what your, the vision and mission of Ummah Jameelah. See what I mean? But it's really good. It's really handy to have a definition that comes up. Let me share with you the definition that I use at the moment. So as an educator, my kind of definition changes every once in a while as I make new discoveries and I realize other aspects. But for me, the way that I really like to put it is supporting the development of the whole child so that he can reach his highest potential and unfold into a fully functioning human being who is able to fulfill the purpose of life. And I think within those words, fully functioning human being and highest potential and purpose of life, I think it really encompasses all of the aspects. Okay, because we know that the purpose of life, we know what the purpose of life is as Muslims. And, you know, their highest potential will be highest potential as an individual, highest potential as a Muslim, highest potential as their role that they're going to play in their society. And for me, that this kind of definition is, especially as somebody who's got a teenage, well, he's 19 now, so he's an adult, but somebody who's got a young adult as a child, I really can see how this is really an unfolding of him reaching his highest potential and becoming a full human being. Okay, and this word, fully functioning human being, is something that I'm going to refer to quite a lot as we go along. We're not going to go into details with that right now because we are over time, and I don't want to keep you if you've got, you know, things that you've got to do. We're going to go into that next week and talk about what is a fully functioning human being. Okay. Yeah. So before we go, let me just go on to the Moodle because I want to make sure everybody's really clear with what they're doing on the Moodle. Hold on, because it's not here. Can you see the Moodle? Yep. Can you see the course platform? Yeah, okay. So week one is what we looked at before, which is here. So let's move on to week 2, which is here. So the videos that are starred are the ones you need to watch. So you're going to be looking at planes of development. You're going to be looking specifically at the first plane. These are extra handouts and extra videos that you can watch or read so that you can go deeper into it. And then we have this video, which is on the art of observation. Let me actually move that to the top so it's easy for you to see it. It's not, oh yeah, it's not moving because I'm on Zoom. So I'll move that to the top so you can see there's starred there, and then these are extra ones that you can read or thingy, and then you have more practical life activities. So do watch a few of them, but you don't need to watch all of them. And then you come to the assignment section. So I've taken out the forum post because you're all here. So basically watch all the videos with a star, read the articles that are uploaded that have a star on them. And then from the Absorbent Mind, chapter 3, about the periods of growth. And I've got a copy of the Absorbent Mind at the top of the Moodle. And then also you have to do an observation of a child in the first plane of development. Okay, so the observation assignment instructions are here. The template is here. And the instructions are here. You can submit it on the Google Classroom. You guys have all access to the Google Classroom, right? That's where you can submit it. And the Absorbent Mind book is over here. So if you don't have it as a hard copy, you can just use this copy that's here. You can just find the chapter on that and read it in digital form. Okay, so that's week 2. So if you haven't finished week 1, please do try and get the week 1 assignments done. And then this is what's due for next week. Please meet. Jean, if you can just get back to me on the group, just let me know what you choose about the schedule for when the lives want to happen, how everyone can do, and just let me know.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, inshallah.
Does anyone have any questions or anything? No?
Sorry, I reached out to you earlier. I keep getting that invalid login details, so I'm just stuck with that a bit because I can't enter.
Okay, sure. I'm going to take a look at that now. After we get off the Zoom, I'll take a look at that,
Okay.
and then I'll
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Anyone else got anything else? No. Okay. In that case, then inshallah, have a wonderful week. And let me know if you need any help, and I'll see you all next week or whatever we decide once you get back to me. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Jazakallah khair.
Thank
Assalamu
you very much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Mhm.
alaikum. Salam.